What's the best niche in real estate that can get unlimited leads? This is big. I just learned about what could possibly be the biggest, most profitable, and most fulfilling niches in all of real estate over the next 12 months. I have tracked down a top expert and I have asked him all of the tough questions on how we can get started in this niche, how much opportunity there is to make money in this niche, and how you can get into this real estate niche and get properties for fix and flip, rental properties, or even wholesaling. He's gonna tell us exactly how we can get all of this done so that you can do it too. Let's go.
Noel. Yeah, she can fix that. You gotta get it done, or you need to do it better. Well, she can fix that. Yeah, she can fix that. Investment to get back, trying to get a big stack. She can fix that. Let's fix that.
Okay, so I am so excited to be here with you, Philip Vincent. We are going to get right to it. I have some tough questions, like I said, and I really want to know about this because this is big, and this is really big in the real estate market right now. So let's just start and simply just tell me, what is, how did you start Mom's House? What is Mom's House?
Yeah, thank you for having me on today. I'm excited to share this with everyone listening about, I've been doing this real estate thing for 25 years. When I was 20, I started building houses, and I won't bore you guys with that whole story, but I worked my way over these 25 years to a niche that it was basically born out of laziness. And I mean that because I hated working with sellers that didn't want to work with me. I only wanted to work with people that kind of raised their hand and said, hey, Philip, I need to sell my house right now. And when you change your business to only work with people that want to work with you, and in fact, they need to work with you, your whole life changes. And so back in 2011, I discovered the senior living niche. I'm not talking about building senior living communities. I'm talking about everyone that moves into that community. Philip and Noel are brothers and sisters. And today we find out that Mom has to move into senior living. We have some really hard decisions to make as adult children. It's that first time we're starting to make decisions with our parents or maybe even for our parents. And it's really hard. And what I realize is that seller, they have to, 95% of Americans have to sell that property, the one they bought in 1978, or all the equity sitting, they have to sell it because they have to pay for care.
Right. Okay. So it's so funny that you mentioned that. So, but like, what is senior transitioning? You know what I mean? I know we kind of talked about so they're going to convalescent homes, they're going to assisted living, kind of where did this start?
Sure. The window of time that Mom's House works in is in-home healthcare to assisted, or what's called independent living. Then there's assisted living, and then there's memory care, and then what's called SNF. So in there is this window right before probate, or what we call pre-probate. So in-home healthcare, independent living, assisted living, memory care, it's called SNF, or basically nursing home, the term nursing home, but we call it SNF in the industry. And then they've passed away. Yes, guys, people do pass away, right? Yeah. We're not going to we can be adult enough on this call to say that is the end of what happens here, right? And so in that window of time, and for anyone that likes stats and numbers like I do, guys, the stats show 7 out of 10 Americans, 70% of Americans over 65 are going to live in assisted living before they pass.
Really?
That big of a number. So people always say, oh, what a great little niche you have there. I'm like, hold on, let me tell you the real numbers.
Not little.
Probate is the tiny niche. This is basically, in my mind, this is real estate, if I could be so bold. And think about it this way. Think about the last 5 houses you bought. How old were the sellers? Were they 28 or were they 82?
Yeah. They were much older. Okay, so you were talking, and we were talking a little bit before about pre-probate. So kind of go into that a little bit more, because I know my real estate investing community, my people that we want to invest in real estate, and we want a great niche to find lots of, motivated sellers, like you're saying, people that want to work with us. So let's talk about this pre-probate.
Sure. And so what we were talking about earlier is how much you and I both like the probate. We like probate, right?
Yeah.
And why do we like it? It's because you've got a seller that wants to get their cash. That's their inheritance. They're going to get some money, right? They got the stuff they don't need, and they want to sell it. But let me simplify it so much. If Mom is moving into senior living and we need to sell her house to pay for her care, which on average is $6,000 a month, guess what? Me and you as brother and sister, we don't get that money. Right. So in probate, guess what? Me and you are going to fight for every dollar because that's our inheritance.
Right.
So think about that mind shift of, I need to sell Mom's house. Do I really care if I get 86 grand or 92 grand? It's not even going to me, right? I just want it to be easy. I want to get this mom, unlock this equity out of Mom's house for care. versus
Right.
probate. Now it's what me and you get. That's way different psychology.
Yeah. So it's almost like a better niche for getting properties at a cheaper price too. Not only you know what I mean? Because like you're right, some of the probate people, the brother, the sister, the kids of the deceased, they want they fight. They do. This is a really good point. So another great thing you kind of brought up that I'm kind of like tell me a little bit more about is this: how many older people are going to be transitioning?
Oh my gosh, let's go over the numbers, guys. Right now, 2023, there's about 55 million Americans that are over the age of 65.
Wow.
And by the year 2030, that number is going to be 74 million. Wow. So even though I've been in real estate for 25 years, and even though I've been doing senior living, transitioning people from their forever homes into the senior living, I was just ahead of the curve. Right now, this year, guys, if you think you're behind, you're not. This is the year that the baby boomers are starting to move into senior living. And guess what? For the next 15 to 20 years, the numbers are going to go like this.
Wow.
So 74 million. So I'm long-winded answering your question here. 74 million. 70% of those people are going to live in some sort of long-term care. So what's 70% of 74? If somebody can do the math. 50-something million people. And of those 50 million people, we have to remember as a society, boomers and their parents in the United States, they own $10 trillion. That's 12 zeros. They own $10 trillion in real estate outright.
Yeah.
All the equity in this country is in their houses, that 10 trillion. So I help them unlock that equity for care.
Okay. So this is what you were kind of mentioning, the silver tsunami.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming right now. It's so big. Our own government doesn't even know what to do. There's so many boomers.
Yeah. Explain that. Explain the silver tsunami.
Yeah. So back after World War II, the United States was very prosperous. Everybody's building homes and making babies, right? The boomers, they boomed a lot. That's what they did. Got here. Well, now those people are starting to go into senior living, 1946 and 1964. So the oldest of the the oldest of the boomers are starting to move in to senior living. Really, this year is kind of the starting point of how the averages work. And so they have equity in their homes. Their children, the seniors' children, did not wait around to inherit their parents' houses. They already have their own McMansions and they already have their own thing.
That's
so now this extra house, most children live on average 200 miles away. Right. So like I'm in St. Louis, my parents are down in Florida. If they had to move into senior living, I'm not going to rehab their house. Not at all. I mean, I'm in the business and I'm not going to rehab their house. I know how big of a pain that is. And so those families, they want the easy button. And here's the thing I want to tell everybody. What if it's the unloving thing to do is to send them to a real estate agent? So up here, like people are saying, well, what do you mean by that? Everyone thinks to sell your home, you have to use a real estate agent. In fact, I used to think that way 20 years ago. Yeah. You don't have to have a real estate agent to sell your home. So Mom's House, we work directly in the senior living sales process. They say, oh, you're going to need to sell this house. Have you talked to Philip? Can you go right to Philip to get this offer on the house? Because we buy the house as is with, we take care of the stuff too. I want to be clear with everyone here. The stuff is even harder than the house sometimes because all their possessions is like their identity. And they're moving from a 2,000 square foot house down to a 400 square foot studio apartment or whatever you want to call that unit that they live in the senior living. They have way too much stuff. And so with the better stuff, the better house buyer we end up being.
Okay. So let's kind of talk through that. So you're almost becoming a specialist more so than a real estate investor. Is that?
It's both. You said, what is a senior transition specialist?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That transition is more than just the house. The house is almost the easy part for me, right? Anyone listening here that wants to be an investor, aren't we all looking for houses that we can add value to? Aren't we all looking for houses? Every house was 2 years old and beautiful. We wouldn't have much to do. We're looking for houses we can add value to. Well, what houses can we add value to? It's the one that has good bones. Mom's been living there for 40 years. She paid 48 grand for it. Now it's worth 480 grand, but in retail condition, not the way it sits, but it could be. And to get that house retail ready, the family's like, I don't have the money to do it anyway. Where's that 60 grand going to come from for the rehab? They just don't want it. And they want to be, you got to remember too, for everyone listening, investors, we love that I word, right? Entrepreneur, investors. In the senior living world, when they hear the word investor, all they hear is dun-dun, dun-dun. That's all they hear. Like, like
a shark is coming. Yeah.
Our world, we love it. But in that world, so if I don't want to show up as an investor and I don't want to show up as a real estate agent because that's the way they've been trying to fix this problem for 40 years, being a senior transition specialist, we help with things like placement. What is placement? If me and you, we find out today our mom has to move into senior living, do we know what level of care mom needs? Of course not. I have no idea. You have no idea. We have to go get a specialist, like a placement agent, to help us. It's called ADLs, or activities of daily living. We need to know geographically, demographically, monetarily, where's the best place for mom to move, because it's not a little deal to move someone from their forever home into most likely the final place that they'll live. It's a big deal, right?
So we go,
it's a huge, and we're looking at downsizing companies, we're looking at estate sale companies, VA aid and attendance, placement agencies, elder care attorneys, real estate, like all these check boxes are happening at the same time. And as a senior transition specialist, I get to stay in my lane as the real estate guy, but I have all those people on my roster that say, you need to talk to Fred, you need to talk to Julie, you need to talk to Jeff, because they specialize in each one of those things. So as I get to know the family, I can plug and play the vendors, we'll call them, or the people that they need to make this transition, which is very painful, as easy as I can.
I love it. I love it. So it's almost this, instead of being a shark, and then one of the things that I always talk about in real estate investing is we want to be a problem solver. So what are some of let's kind of say, why do seniors and families need help with this real estate?
I'll give you the best example I can, guys, and write this down if you can. Google the cost versus value guide. It's one of my best tools I could ever share with anyone. For the past 23 years, they've been chronicling what it costs to rehab items in your house. So let's just use St. Louis, because that's where I'm sitting. What do you think it costs to do a brand new bathroom in a house? Now, if you had to guess in St. Louis, tear it out, put a new one in. What do you think the average cost is?
20 grand.
It's a good guess. It's 23, almost 24,000.
For one bathroom.
For one bathroom, guys. For one bathroom. That's how much it costs. Guess how much value it gave the house?
5?
It's like 12. It's like 12. So they lose basically half their money. And families, when they see this, they're like, hold on, this can't be right, is what they say. They don't want to believe it. And then they'll say something like, well, what about a kitchen? And I'm like, I love it when they say that, because the kitchen's one of the worst ones, because the cost of that room is so expensive. You get like half your money back. So it's like, why would I spend 30 grand on a kitchen if I get 15 grand worth of value?
Right.
And guess what? These moms' houses, these grandma's houses, they don't need one thing or two things. They need like 17 things.
That's true.
As you're going through the cost versus value, as you start checking it off, you're going, hey, wait a second, brother or sister. Looks like every dollar we spend, we get like 60 cents back. Why would we do this?
Right. Oh my gosh, you'd much rather just give it over to a senior transition specialist. Like I said, someone that's not just informed with what to do with the house, but like you said, has all of these great resources. So, okay, so I'm listening to Mom's House, and as a real estate investor, obviously I could see from a mom, you know what I mean, with older parents, you know what I mean? That's from my perspective. But let's talk about just from the real estate investment perspective. Like if I want to be an investor and I want to pick this as my niche, or I really want to work and be a senior transition specialist, you kind of had mentioned that, 20 is plenty.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I would, in this space, there's probably about 50 job titles that you could build relationships with. And if I just had 2 placement agents and 2 elder care attorneys and 2 of each one of those, that's around 100 people. Now, I know this is hard to believe, but not everyone will like me and not everyone will like you. Right. And so if we get to 100, can I just get it down to like 20 people that know, like, and trust me? I can, right? 20 out of 100. That's pretty good. So what is 20 and 20 is if I have 20 people in senior living, the right job titles that I'll teach you how to do, the right people, if 20 people know, like, and trust Philip, I'm going to have a business that comes to me directly with no marketing cost.
Wow.
And you said, as an investor, there's 10 reasons why these are the best leads I've ever had. And I'm just going to try to do them off the top of my head. The first one is motivation. What good is a seller if they're not motivated? I don't have to convince them of motivation. They're being told by a doctor that they have to move.
Right.
Mom, grandma listened to her priest, her doctor, and her lawyer, right? And so the doctor says you got to move. Number 2, they have equity. 9 times out of 10, they own this house outright. And guys, does it make it easier or harder if they own the house outright? Obviously, it's
so much easier.
That's what we're dreaming about, right? We dream if they have a reverse mortgage for 80 years, it's gonna, it just knocks it out. So they have equity 90% of the time. Yeah. These are houses I can add value to. Even if mom took care of it, like that paneling's the wrong color, that carpet's the wrong color. You know what I mean? Like it's not 2024 style. You know what I mean? There's less competition with what I do. Normally, I don't compete against anyone. When that person that they're getting advice from about mom's end of life care, when they say, hey, give Philip a call, he'll take it. I had one yesterday. I had my clean out guy. He does like buyouts of houses. He referred me yesterday, and I'm going tomorrow to buy the house. A perfect rental. And they've already put me on a tee. This seller already trusts me because they're already working with a guy named Randy, the clean out guy. And and Randy said, you got to call Philip. He'll make this go away. And they want to go back to Oklahoma. The house is vacant. True motivation, right? And that's that's my warm referrals come to me. The fifth reason is what I just said there. The warm referral from somebody they're already getting advice from is so much more powerful than direct mail or pay-per-click or bandit signs, right? They put me on I always say you could be halfway incompetent and buy a lot of houses this way because they've put me on a pedestal. They trust me already. This guy doesn't know me, but if Randy said, hey, I've known Phil for 20 years, or it doesn't have to be 20 years. It could be, that's the person I go to take care of the house. Just like, guess what I do? If they need to clean the house out, I say, well, you got to call Randy. He's the guy. It's all favor coupons and referrals, right?
Right.
The sixth reason why is that these leads are free. The best leads in real estate are free.
That's right.
That's crazy.
That's true, though.
This is not based on the economy. Number 7, this is people getting this, guys. This only works in areas where people get older. So if you live in a town where people don't get older, call me. I want to move to your town. This only works. So if people are getting old in your town, this works. This is affecting everyone. A wise man once told me, you're going to work in senior living, whether you want to or not. So you might as well embrace it. So that's what I'm
a good point.
You guys. Hey, take this seriously, or you're going to be buying houses from someone else that did. And that's not a threat. I'm just saying that's how big this is. This next 15 years, boomers and their parents are going to be selling their houses to the world because that's the houses that need to be updated and brought back to the market.
I love it. Okay, so you said a great point that you got to go a little bit deeper on.
Which one?
Because when we're talking about being a real estate investor, obviously we're looking for leads. We want the best leads. We want to be able to cherry pick the ones that are best for us. And we want to solve a problem. We don't want to be the shark, like you said. Yeah. So this as a niche probably seems like I said, I used to love probate. Now, if you look at maybe 4 years ago, I have so many videos on probate. But when you talk about people that are coming to you and they're motivated already, that's a big point. Let's talk about some of the type of clients that you see and that you help and how that process works.
Yeah. I had a lady named Tani. Her mother couldn't move into the senior living community until she proved to them how she was going to pay for it. She didn't have enough money in her checking to pay for it. Right. So my contract to buy her mother's house was the proof that the community needed to let her mom move in.
Wow.
So
that's big.
It's that kind of level.
It's that kind of level. Yeah.
And for any females listening right now, I want to tell you guys directly, I think this niche is better suited for females than it is for men. And how often do you ever hear that in real estate?
Never.
Never. And why? It's that E word. It's empathy, right? If you don't know, you're not, go ask your mate. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
Most investors were too transactional. We're too shark-like. We're too wham bam. Let's move to the next one.
That's right.
And that ain't this, guys. If you're listening, that ain't this. You got to have love in your heart. And if you lead with love, you're going to buy a lot of houses. Wow. But if you don't, then don't even start. I'm being serious. Don't even start. If you don't have love in your heart, don't even start. Because by the way, senior living will see through the junk of an investor.
Right. And so I think that's why I said, I even me, like I said, I'm a woman, I'm the female, the empathy, why I liked the probate is because I knew some of those situations, but this is even stronger than that, because like you said, that this is the proof that they're going to need to be able to pay for some of this stuff. And the business, because you're right. You can't just move. They have to figure out how are you going to pay us? How are you going to pay us?
Because they can't let broke people move into their community. The average cost is $6,000 a month. So right now, if you find out today that your mom had to move into senior living or dad, where would that $6,000 come from? Is it going to come from my rich brother? I mean, you know what's funny about that? Even if you have an affluent brother or sister, they may pay for a month or two, and then they're going to go, "Hey, we need to sell mom's house."
Correct.
Which is why it's their own
life. I get it. I really do. More than I get it. I love it. So how would one get started? Let's talk about how we work with Mom's House and become a part of Mom's House so that we're not out here just flim-flam and trying to do this ourselves, not really having the resources for people, because like you said, it doesn't work if you can't get connected with the right places, and if you don't have the right resources, then you're not really helping. You're just an investor trying to do this as a niche. So
that's right.
How do we really get into this?
And you'll put your foot in your mouth without even with a good heart, you might put your foot in your mouth because you don't know the language of senior living.
It's not going to work.
So I created a certification for everyone to take. And so at momshouse.com/Noelle, Noelle, if you guys want to learn more about it, it's really inexpensive. It's not a crazy price. I want you guys to take a look at it and see if it's right for you. That's momshouse.com/Noelle, Noelle. And it's going to be a perfect niche for some of you.
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of how many properties you've been able to do. I know you, Philip, have been very successful, with this as your real estate, niche. So let's talk about what you've seen for other people and what have they been able to do with focusing on this thing?
Yeah. What's fun about the numbers is that would you rather talk to a ton of people and buy a couple houses or talk to a few and buy a couple of houses?
Number two.
Number two. And I've always been that way. I had a lady one time, I won't talk badly about other lead providers, but she said, Z-Buyer, she said, I got 326 leads. And I go, great. How many houses did you buy? None. And I go, well, what good is the 326 leads if you didn't buy a house? I'd rather talk to 3 people and buy 1 house all day long. And so with this is the highest,
especially one that's paid in full, lots of equity in a great area. We didn't even get into that. I'm going to ask you some questions about where these houses are mostly. So get back to that. Sorry.
No. And I'll answer your question. Where are the houses at? They're everywhere where people get old. And so for me, I'm not meaning that sarcastic. I'm saying I have a buy box for me personally, but if it's not in my buy box, I still help that family. You know what I do is I wholesale it to somebody else whose buy box that does fit. I hardly ever say no.
Right.
I say, I'll help you. And then I get it to the right, there's a butt for every saddle, right? So I get it to the right person, even if it's not my buy box. It very rarely do I have to say no because I'm there to help the family. And even if I'm not the end buyer, that's okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, like I said, so what I always, why I kind of, again, I haven't really done this one. That's why I'm so super interested. I was so happy to be able to track you down, Philip, so we could have this conversation. Is I did focus a few years ago on probate. Obviously I have so many different things going on, all these streams of income that I'm not necessarily marketing the way that I used to, but my mind was blown. Like, this is perfect, not only for new investors, but seasoned investors, women. Obviously I'm always trying to bring in women, of color and really get them into real estate investing, because I know it's the number one way to wealth. But there are some challenges. And one of the challenges you talked about is going through the leads. Yeah, we can produce leads. And if you get 326 leads and you got to comb through all of them, that's sometimes discouraging for a person to stay in the business and really get to the money. So let's talk about how much better your life would be when you pick the right real estate niche. You know what I mean? When you're spending your time doing income producing activities and actually getting real estate versus talking to leads all day. You
got it. I mean, you couldn't pay me to be a cold caller.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me to do that, right? That's not what I want to do with my life.
Right.
And, we have this saying, it's 5 hours to freedom. I need about 5 hours a week. So guys, if you got a full-time job, can you give me 5 hours to get this going? That's how much time I need I don't need 40 or 80 hours a week or anything crazy like that. I need 5 hours a week to spend in this niche, and you can build a business that comes to you.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Okay. And so you basically have, but one more time, to get started with Mom's House, you have this inexpensive, it's a certification. It's a certification. Okay.
Yeah, it's a course. Yep. And it's momshouse.com/Noelle.
Okay. And with this certification, you're not only learning the business a little bit more in depth, you're getting certified so that you're saying the right things to people and not saying the wrong things, which.
Oh yeah. Putting your foot in your mouth is so easy to do. And so the whole language of senior living. But guys, here's why it's worth it. If you could do one direct mail piece and get a lead 10 years from now, what would you pay for that direct mail piece, right? If you could just get leads every single, and that's what I always like to say, in the relationship business, you can do direct response like everyone else, or you can build relationships. And when you build relationships, there's value in relationships. There's one night stands, and then there's 50-year marriages. I'm teaching you guys how to build 50-year marriages with people that you're going to get deals from for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
What's that word? I just had somebody call me right now, my buddy Paul. He's one of my guys. I had a deal yesterday and another one just called me. I'm sure he's got a deal for me. And so when you build these relationships, I'm their solution for the house. My leads come directly to me. They put me on a pedestal. These people are motivated. They have equity. Like, these are the best leads I've ever found. This is a fun niche. You get to, I think the American dream, at least for me, is to do good by helping others and make a great living from helping others. That's what I get to do.
I love it. I love it. And so, all right, I got one tough question for you. And this is just one of the well question that I have to ask because I know the audience is thinking this. Who is this not for?
A lot of transactional real estate investors who are just like, sell me the leads, sell me the leads. In fact, my whole life would be so much. I have leads coming in nationwide from the Mom's House business. Okay. If I could just sell the leads to the open market, my life would be so much easier. Yeah. I'm looking for people to help me with these leads that are coming in nationwide because I can only be in one spot really at any given time. And so I'm looking for people to join our network here at Mom's House because I need more empathetic investors.
I love it. I love it. That is such I always say a heart-centered entrepreneur. That's one of my big things. And why I love real estate investing is because we solve big problems.
Yeah, definitely.
We do. We solve big problems.
Is fulfilling. That was one of the 10 reasons is that F word of fulfillment. I don't hear most people who do bandit signs. I've never heard them say the word fulfillment or cold calling or text message. It's not fulfilling. Helping seniors, guys, is very fulfilling. I get hugs from people all the time. I see the weight come off their shoulders because they're like, man, I don't have to come back here again? Like, I'll have this cash in 3 weeks. And because in a time when things are going bad, mom fell down, mom had to have surgery, mom's in rehab, mom has to move into senior living. The real estate agent said, clean this place out and do all those rehab items. They're like, I don't want to do any of that. And Phil came in and made this one thing go easy.
Yeah. I love it. And so one more thing is it really sounds benefits for the seller. Obviously, they don't have to do all of those things. Obviously, repairs and update the house, because we already know in the retail market, when you're selling a house with a real estate agent, it needs to compete. It needs to be staged. It needs to be, it needs to be painted. All of those things needs to happen. And that's an investment that the seller or the seller's children have to make.
Yep.
So working with Mom's House or a certified, specialist of Mom's House, that's one of the benefits. They don't have to do any of that.
And when they're left to make their own decisions, they always make bad decisions. And I'm not being negative about people. I was going to tell you guys, somebody that watches HGTV a lot might think this is easy to rehab houses, but I love it when one of the adult children have recently rehabbed their own house. I love it. And here's why. I say 2 questions. Did you go over budget or under budget? And they can laugh. They're like, oh my God, way over budget.
Way over.
Did it take less time or more time than you thought? They're like, we thought it would take 3 months and it took 12. Yep. And I say, hey, do you have 12 months to do this, to wait for mom? And they're like, no. And by the way, when they answer those questions, I'm there for a reason.
Right.
Families might say, we were thinking about rehabbing ourselves. They're really just still getting to know me. They don't want a rehab or I would never be there.
That's true.
I would never be there. But I know that, and it's always funny. Next time you guys are here that you're out in the field with a family and they say, we might rehab it ourselves, just know they don't really want to, or you wouldn't even be there.
I love it. So we talked about the person, who this is not for. This has to be a person of high integrity. This has to be, someone that really is heart-centered, wants to help people. They want to make money and they want a great career. But at the same time, they have some integrity about themselves because they're working with a vulnerable population. If we have to be honest, right? This is, someone, like you said, mom fell down. Mom has to move into transition homes. The last thing they need is a shark coming after them.
100%.
So when we're talking about this, it can be a side hustle, though, correct? Can we start it off as a side hustle and then it takes us over, or kind of let's talk through that part?
Totally. I mean, I need 5 hours a week of your time to do this right. Could you do less? Sure. But you always get the results that you put in.
5 hours, an hour a day after work. That's simple.
That's simple. And, it's doable for anyone, even with a full-time job. And so sometimes it's easier for me to help train and coach people who are just getting started because they have the heart condition than it is for me to get a real estate agent to not talk like a real estate agent. Right. A lot of my students are agents. Hey, by the way, I'm an agent too, right? So I can
me
talk
too.
about
Licensed broker.
But we have so much in our head, this head trash of the way that commission. I'm like, no, hold on, stop saying commission. I'm there to buy the house, right? And so me unlearning old hat real estate investors and old school real estate agents is sometimes harder for me than it is starting with someone fresh. So guys, if you're thinking about, you said it earlier and I loved it, the most millionaires are generated from real estate.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they come from. So if you have a W-2 job and you're like, what does my future look like? Real estate is great. This is a great side hustle that can turn into your full-time hustle. And I'll give you a good example. If you do 1 deal a month, that's 12 a year. That's basically a part-time job
Yeah.
But with the average profits around 15 to 20 grand, you might be making 180 to 200 grand a year. Guys, that's CEO money for a part-time job. Tell me where you're going to do that anywhere else.
Right. I love it. I love it. And that's why I transitioned from being a part-time real estate investor to saying, wait a minute, why am I even going into this office? If I just dedicated more time to this, I would make even more money. So the first year I did real estate investing full time, I made over $400,000. The second year, over $1 million. And meanwhile, because what I was doing as a side hustle, I'm making 60 grand a year, picking up, $5,000 a month, doing just a few deals. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is the business that I should be in. But I think for some, they struggle with, what is my niche? Who am I going to be going after? Who am I marketing to? How am I doing the marketing? And there's so many different things you can do with the house. Obviously, you can fix and flip the house. We know that. We talked about that. And or we can create a whole rental portfolio.
Yeah. I want to talk about what you just said is the identity of, I talk to people every day that want to be investors and they identify, they say, I'm a wholesaler.
Yeah.
Guys, a wholesaler is not an identity.
It is not.
We need to stop saying that as an industry. By the way, the seller, I don't know. People say they tell the seller they're a wholesaler. I'm like, well, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Please stop doing that. You need to be the solution for their problems. And so let's not identify as a wholesaler. That's one disposition strategy of many. Of so many, of a myriad of different things you could do. Right. Why would you say that? Yeah. What I realize is really what they're saying is, I don't have my money right yet.
Correct.
I don't think I can do rehabs because they're just getting started. So I'm not being negative, but guys, being a senior transition specialist, that's truly an identity. That's a community, an identity of people that are out there serving seniors. And I get to, I have my coaching call today at 1. I'm gonna have a bunch of people on there that are out networking and going to these networking events in senior living, and they got families coming to them and they're helping them. We're doing real estate deals. It's like a fun way to do this. And it's so much less cheesy than some of the other ways to do real estate. A lot of people have said, I've been waiting for something that felt better here than the other ways of doing real estate.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, seriously, Philip, this is like serious. I was like, yes, I hear, the concept of mom's house. And obviously I'm in my 40s now. So obviously my parents are in their 60s, going into their 70s, it's just math. And when you hear and know about already being a real estate investor, knowing that this is so much opportunity. Okay. I'll be like you said, everyone is aging. There's no way around that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Knowing what I already knew from probate, that I was able to get better properties that way. Just quite frankly, it was just better properties. They were easier to rehab because, like you said, they usually had good bones. Mom and dad usually took care of the house, usually had a lot more equity, all of those reasons that you named. But then there was those downsides. You know what I mean? The brothers and the sisters fighting over the money.
Karen. Yeah. There's always a Karen.
Always a Karen. Yeah. And it was like jamming up the deal.
Yeah.
And this is so much more because, again, this is a big problem. Mom or dad has to move into some type of assisted living or convalescent or, those types of homes. And it really is just like this is where we are for today. This is perfect for right now. This is not 10 years ago. This is where we are today.
You got it. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it's going to be relevant. Not that people won't stop or dying in 20 years, but the numbers, the crazy numbers, the baby boomers for the next 15 to 20 years, that number is going up. And so you're not behind. This is a thing to sink your teeth into. I'm 45 years old myself. Hey, 15 years, I'll be 60. For me, I love to buy houses. I hope to be buying houses when I'm 85. But the point is that this is something I've committed to because I don't mind working, but I want to know I'm working for something that's going up.
Yeah.
I don't like things that are trendy. Like, guys, if you built your whole business on text message blasting, how's your day going right now? Right?
Terribly. Right. Exactly.
It's over. That's over. Like that died. And I don't like
iPhone was like, no.
Yeah. I mean, the carriers have stopped that, right? Because it's spam. I don't want to be in the spam business. I don't.
Right.
I like to help people. I like to make money. There's nothing wrong with those two things together. And that's what this is.
I love that. That's the perfect way to say this. This is helping people and this is making money. And there is, to me, nothing better than that in the world, to pick a career or industry or be an entrepreneur and something like that. So again, momshouse.com/Noel, get the certification, start helping people, start making money. It's a great niche. Even if you only did a couple of deals a year, would it be worth it?
Yes, without question.
Yeah. Something like you do one deal a year. You know what I mean? Like you said, because the profits are probably it's going to be better than wholesaling. We know that.
Yep.
We know that. So if anybody's listening and they've tried wholesaling, we know for a fact, if you could get them before they're actually in the situation where they're already in probate, again, pre-probate, that's giving you a much better opportunity to deal directly with the seller, the seller's kids, help them in a much bigger way. You know what I mean? Because the person has not passed away. So there's definitely that real help. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're helping the kids get rid of the house, but this is a real opportunity with helping them get the care and the medical care that they need by selling their home. It's
really cool when the right thing to do is also the good thing for my business. It feels good when it's both ways.
Yeah. Really love that. All right. So thank you so much, Philip Vincent. Anything else you want to end with? Because like I said, I know it was hard tracking you down. I know you got your coaching call. I know you have this team of people, but the opportunity, people need to know about this. There's not enough people doing this. Is really that's another when we're saying it's an opportunity this is blue ocean. No one even, again, I've been doing this since 2014 and was like, wait a minute, I've never done this.
And now that you've heard it, don't you kind of see it's like peanut butter and chocolate when they got together? You're like, oh, this makes so much sense.
Right, exactly. It's such a great combo.
And it's one of those obvious things. And I just want to say, guys, now that you've heard this today, don't walk into the community and put your hand out and think you're going to wing it. There is a language to it. And I'm not trying to say, I'm saying it's worth it to do it right.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And by the way, my whole entire certification, all my training is all my mistakes of me doing it wrong. And because I want to help 30,000 daughter Judys a month, that's my goal.
Okay.
That I need people to do this right. And so, guys, I built this because I need your help. I want your listeners to participate in this movement with us to help these families. They always feel like they're on an island and they don't know which way to turn. And in a time when everything's going wrong, you get to be the thing that goes right for them. And that lets you buy a ton of real estate.
Right. And there's not a lot of Phillips. There's not. Trust me. I looked.
Not enough.
I looked. I had to track you down. Like there was not enough people that were actually doing this in such a valuable way that was really bringing value to families. And having such a large network. You know what I mean? It's a small network because it's like, not that many, networks, but at the same time, it's a big enough network where you can make a lot of money. You have the resources and the vendors and the help that you need to actually help families.
Thank you for seeing that. You're right.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Anything closing out before we end here?
Thank you for having me on, guys. I look forward to meeting you guys in person. I'm sure we'll see each other around. I love my investor world.
I love it too. Thank you so much, Philip Vincent. This has been amazing. I appreciate everything that you shared today. You've shared some amazing secrets, and I know I asked some tough questions, but it was all worth it. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.